Good afternoon and welcome to the Chartreuse Leprechaun. My name is Mark, your host, and, well, believe it or not, it's actually been a full month of Leprechaun stories since we did our last update video. The goal of doing this like once a month got all kinds of borked because of the days of COVID, but you know what? Things are for real, like for real, starting to get back to normal around here, and that's pretty stinking cool. So as usual, we have some technical updates, problems have been solved, and of course we have some health news. So be sure to hit that like button and subscribe if you haven't already. Set yourself up for notifications so you don't miss anything around here, and trust me, there is always something going on around here. With all that goes on around here, you would think the Chartreuse Leprechaun has it in for us, but you know, we're actually winning in a lot of ways. So we got lots to catch up on. Let's get started. And I think we're going to continue with our new-ish habit, several videos now, of starting with channel news and tech stuff, just because, well, I kind of like starting with something positive, or mostly positive. Usually. Sometimes? Yeah, well, sometimes. I finally got around to improving our abilities to monitor technical issues and performance. I finally installed MSI Afterburner and learned to use it. Well, partially. I'm still playing with it. Color schemes, skins, layout, you know, figuring out what to monitor that actually matters to us here at the Chartreuse Leprechaun. Gotta tell you, I'm really liking this toy.
No idea why I never did this till now. I'm still pretty much a noob in so many ways when it comes to YouTube, computers, streaming, all that wonderful stuff. I guess somehow I had it in my head, like so many others, that this was like overclocking and I didn't need it.
And of course, all this is a very nice way to say, screw you, Leprechaun. And what this means is I get to see these temperature spikes more easily instead of having to look away from the game and try to see it on the other monitor in a really small font/display thingy, assuming I didn't actually cover it over with something else. Yeah, still don't know what's causing the temperature spikes. They're creeping on some games, not on others, but they always occur during rendering. And as I feared, they're continuing to inch their way up. So again, any cooler recommendations are welcome. As inexpensive as possible, of course. Just leave those suggestions in the comments, please and thank you. Oh, and for reference, we're just using a stock AMD cooler. I forget which model it is, but that's what we're using. So cooler suggestions, please and thank you. Side note about those temps. If you've seen the layout of the studio, tech intervention video back in, I think, April, where we broke down that old GTX 950 and tried to improve it. Yeah, that went well. Anyway, you know the airflow around here needs help. And the computer is, well, it's in the best location functionally, but not in terms of airflow. So on a whim, I took the side panels off and, well, lo and behold, the temps came down 2 to 3 degrees C. Yeah, Celsius. With the side vent panel removed, and it came down another 1 degree Celsius with the back panel removed. So go figure that one out. Also, on the subject of cooling, I need help with our graphics card. I want to improve the GPU cooling temperatures by applying thermal pads, but I need to know what thickness of thermal pad you use on an MSI GTX 1660. I've had it for a couple years. I've never checked to see what's in it, and the temps for that are starting to creep up ever so slightly, ever so slowly, but they're pretty stable. But they are creeping, not to the danger zones, so I want to try and do a little preemptive work. And as you all know, there are several different thicknesses of thermal pads, and I can't afford to buy a package of all of them, so I can experiment trying to find the right one. I also can't afford the time to tear down and experiment with different size pads because, you know, we only have the one graphics card. So does anybody know what thickness of thermal pads you would use on a GTX 1660? I can't seem to find that information anywhere. Not using Google, DuckDuckGo, pick your search engine, I'm not finding it. So if you know, please leave us a comment. Please and thank you. Leave us a comment. Yeah. Oh, one other upgrade thing I need suggestions for. I want to get a boom mic stand that attaches to the desk. And per se, that's not a problem. There are tons of those. I also wanted to go over the monitors. Again, not a problem. There's lots of those. I need something solidly built. Again, not a problem. There's plenty of those. The problem is, well, my desk. It's a very old, solid oak executive secretary's desk. It's so old it actually has a pull-out platform for a typewriter. Yes, an honest-to-God typewriter in the side panel. And this thing was old when I got it back in 1991. I refinished it, and the kids more or less destroyed the top, but you know what? It is so stinking solid. I just keep using it. So what's the problem, you say? Well, the problem is the desk is 36 inches across. Yeah, 36 inches. All the desk mount boom stands I can find are only 18 to 20 inches in horizontal reach. Way too short. One bright note in all this, though, I finally figured out why DaVinci Resolve was crashing during the rendering process. Once we fixed the overheating problem that was crashing the whole computer, among other symptoms, was an insane swing in the frame rate during the rendering step. Come to find out, the drive I was sending the files to was failing. I switched out where I'm storing my series files and archives and all of that. Things really got stable. So I'm pretty sure the drive was failing.
And to be fair, the drive really is pretty old. Not even sure when I got it, to be honest. It's a Seagate Free Agent Desktop 2 terabyte drive. And those were originally released in 2010, and they got renamed in 2012. So I'm guessing I've had it that long. Pretty sure I bought it new. But it's dead now. And yeah, that means I've got to get another 2 terabyte drive or larger for file storage. Thankfully, Christmas is coming. And just one more moment of, screw you, Leprechaun! Hey, side note, how long do you keep your game video files? I know some folks keep them, some folks don't, but I don't know how long. Hit me up with your wisdom on that, please, and thank you, because I need to know how much storage I actually need.
Yeah, pretty sure. I mean, there was this clicking sound that I've been hearing for a while. I thought it was the ceiling fan. You know, we put in a new one with an adjustable light and all that fun stuff. Nope, it's the drive. And I got over next to it and you could hear the clicking coming from it. Pretty obvious sign. I started shuffling the files off of it and the transfer rate was all over the place. Yeah, dead drive, which also means I need a new terabyte drive. Yeah, we're going to need that storage. And on another thing, I've been thinking about live streams lately for obvious reasons, given our struggles in the last 2 attempts. I'm pretty sure we've ironed out all the bugs and problems.
Well, at least the ones that have shown up so far. Oh wow, that's a scary prospect.
So yeah, the final thing in channel news, I'm considering doing a live stream event monthly. It'd be on Saturdays as part of our Random Game Saturday series. We can continue to play out Stranded Deep till we get to the end, or we could play an hour or so of some other game, in the true spirit of Random Game Saturday, of course. I don't know. Love to have your thoughts and suggestions on it, so leave them in the comments below, please and thank you. Okay. Now for health updates. One of the things I didn't go into detail about last time is the jerkiness in the arms and the hands. Think of it like getting an EMG all the time.
Okay, EMG, electromyography, I think is how it's pronounced. It's a technique for evaluating and I'm reading directly from the definition. Technique for evaluating and recording the electrical activity produced by skeletal muscles. The best description of an EMG I ever heard was, quote, think of it as getting voluntarily electrocuted. Basically, they send an electrical impulse along the nerve and measure how fast it moves. But your muscles contract with the impulse, causing your limbs and feet or hands or fingers or whatever it is they're pumping this electricity into to jerk around and jump off the table. And you know I'm convinced that only the Leprechaun could have convinced so many people to get voluntarily electrocuted.
Well, the only difference between an EMG and what I'm experiencing now is I don't get that somewhat painful electrical impulse of an EMG, but the muscles contract and the arm, hand, fingers jerk and jump. Every once in a while, the muscles will just lock up. Here's a couple of video clips to give you an idea of what it is like. It's not necessarily constant, but it's uncontrollable and very unnerving. It produces a lot of random keystrokes, mouse clicks, random jerks of arms and hands, and you have no idea how much editing takes place just to make it seem like it's a non-issue. And it sucks on both ends. Then there are the brain issues, super long pauses where my brain tries to engage and do an action. It's a post-stroke thing called delayed response. Y'all don't see much of that either, or at least it's not recognizable as such.
All that to say, I really need an editor. I just wish I could afford one, but one more thing to add to the list, what we need around here.
The movement disorder specialist is now referring me to a neuromuscular specialist. The movement disorder specialist, sorry about that, has determined it is not dystonia. They increase the dosage of a drug, and that's all they're doing. So we still have no idea what's going on or why, and it puts the whole disability thing in limbo too. On the bright side, I am finally back to walking regularly. I've been slowly building up distance over the last few weeks. I'm now up to, 1.5 miles or so a day, weather permitting, of course. Unfortunately, the blood oxygen levels still tank during activities. Usually into the range of 88 to 90, which is, again, the hypoxia range. So after exercising and while sleeping, because there's a big drop in oxygen saturation there too, I still wear the oxygen. Yeah, and my primary care doctor says I'm suffering from what is called long COVID because I was diagnosed at the hospital as having COVID pneumonia. Long COVID means you have a various sets of symptoms lasting 12 weeks or longer. Actually, yeah, that's pretty much the definition. Pretty vague. Even the exact symptoms involved are unclear. There's so many of them, which also means the number of people who end up with it is unclear.
Long COVID, well, I suppose it could be better described as a syndrome instead of a disease. Diseases typically have distinguishing signs and symptoms, specific things that identify what it is and how to treat it, like cancer, stuff like that. Syndromes are defined by a group of possible signs and symptoms. Nothing definite or concrete on how to treat it, just stuff they think works. Then that's not a slam on doctors, by the way. They do their best to treat symptoms until they get stuff figured out. That's just the way medicine has always worked.
Unfortunately, it also means it could be months before I get this back to normal, making that one of the least encouraging things you can ever hear from a doctor. I do not want it to take months to get better. Equally unfortunately, we finally had another chest x-ray done, and it's not good. You can see the diaphragm muscle under the right lung clear as day, but it's not there under the left at all. There's a small area at the bottom of the left lung that is just white. There's nothing there. Got to see a pulmonologist. He's ordered a CT scan of the lungs, a new sleep study, and a lung capacity evaluation. Don't know what's going to happen there, but we'll find out. And between the long COVID, the diaphragm thing, the dystonia, or whatever that is, and some back pain issues that won't clear up, this has been a pretty tough month for us here. And yeah, but I know I'm loved, and in the end, it'll be all right, even if the journey isn't fun. On the subject of being loved, and I apologize for the sniffing and snorting, I've got a little bit of a sinus congestion going on. The Fall Texas crud has finally hit. But on the subject of being loved, let's talk about that for a moment. In our heads, we know being loved doesn't mean we agree with the way each of us lives, the things we do or what we believe. We know this, but that's not the way we live our lives in a lot of ways, is it? We spend more time rejecting and vilifying others because of our perception of either, well, they don't love us or they are unlovable. But the truth is, we can love others no matter what. We just choose not to based on politics, sex, religion, economics, race, whatever. There's a few dozen things we use for that. And I'm going to personalize this just a bit to put perspective on it. So for discussion purposes, I can actually love you no matter what. If you choose to hate me, does that mean I don't love you? If you reject everything I believe, does that change that I love you and actually want the best for you? More importantly, does your rejection of me mean you get whatever benefits a relationship with me might offer? Well, the answer to all of those questions is no. And the last one is important. You see, that's how modern society approaches God. We want the benefits without the relationship. But God wants relationship. Relationship requires confrontation. Relationship requires change. In fact, relationship leads to change. Relationship with God means we get confronted with our sin. Sin is everything that separates us from a holy God. Relationship with God requires us to give up that sin. All of it. All of it. Relationship with God requires we commit to Him and give up whatever is in our lives that He rejects. Relationship with God requires that we choose to change. Relationship is a choice. It's not automatic. The world would have you believe that because you're alive, you're God's child and therefore a member of His family, but that's not true. We are not automatically members of His family. That's just not true. We are born of man. And the sin that is in the heart of man is passed down to all who are born of man. To be a member of God's family, you must be born again. You must choose to be a member of His family. You must choose to be born again in Christ. You must choose to be born into the family of God by the acknowledgement of your sin, the repenting of it, and the surrendering to His authority. And without that, you are not His, and you get none of the benefits of relationship with Him. And I think that is enough for now. We've had some technical and health victories this month, pretty big ones too. I really am almost off the oxygen. I'm down to 1 liter, but there's this depth of breathing that it's not recovered. But we'll get there. We've come down from 4, we've made it to 1. We'll get farther. We solved technical problems with temperatures and equipment. These are all definitely things to get excited over. So, as always, I want to thank you for spending your time with us here at the Chartreuse Leprechaun. We really do appreciate it, especially in these days of COVID that I actually think I'm going to wind down this series finally. But please leave us a comment about today's video, what you liked, what you didn't like, and of course, leave us any suggestions you have, game ideas, channel improvement ideas, suggestions for playing games. Honestly, we'll take whatever feedback you want to give us because we want to get better, and we'd like your feedback to help us do that. Also, hit that like button, subscribe, set yourself up for notifications, all that fun stuff so you don't miss anything around here. Check out our merch page and our Patreon page, linked in the descriptions below. But above all, always, always, always remember, if you see it and you can't quite explain it, you can be sure the Leprechaun did it. Now you have yourselves a great day, a great week, and we will see you here next time on the Chartreuse Leprechaun. Bye-bye.